Snack Talk. Man, we're back again, coming to you live. Beautiful Seattle, Washington. At least I'm in Seattle. Bruce is in, and we got Bruce Jackson. My fault. Bruce is in the Bay Area. Charlie's in somewhere in Washington, and we're missing Sano today, unfortunately, or it might be fortunately. You know, we kind of run better as a trio. No, I'm just playing, but nah, man, we're here. We got a special guest, man. You know, we tend to interview guys who don't get a lot of pub that they should, but here's one of the better guys we've seen come out of Seattle, man. You know, Franklin Quaker legend, Eastern Washington legend, and now running a really successful agency. Oh, I said Eastern, Sneeze.
That's why I know.
Oh, yeah.
Shout it out,
we got Alvin Snow. Alvin, how you doing, buddy?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm good. Thanks for having me, man. It feels good. Good.
Man, you know, we appreciate you. We appreciate you coming on. Man, it's just been. How's everything going out your way? You know, it's just with everything going on in the world. How's everything in your neck of the woods?
Well, to be honest, it's been a little crazy, obviously, as it has been for everybody, right? Let me back up to the start. So I had a bunch of guys I had to try to get home. Yeah, people don't think about that part of it, right? But all the guys I worked for were overseas at the time, right? And imagine, you know, we're seeing our president jump on TV and say the borders are closing, the airports are closing, and I got to try to figure out how to get these guys out of their deals with money in hand and back home in the snap of a finger, right? It's pretty tough, right? It's scary. Parents are kind of losing it a little bit, and for good reason, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Players, much the same. So, yeah, it was a little tough, man, but we got through it. Everybody made it home. Everybody's safe.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
That's good.
I feel like that's a win. So.
Yeah.
How do you go about doing that? You just contact the teams and say, man, you got to get my guys home, or how do you even do that?
Man, there's some of that, right? And then I could tell you one, maybe I guess extreme case. I don't want to mention any names, but I had one guy who actually got sick as it was time for him to get on his flight.
Ooh.
So at the airport, imagine getting sick as this is happening, right?
Oh, right.
And actually being at the airport, they detained him. It got a little crazy. They took him to the hospital. It got a little crazy. I don't want to go in too far into depth, but he ended up having to stay another week.
Okay.
Another 2 weeks to kind of quarantine. Come to find out, he didn't have COVID-19. He just had another bug, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Didn't have the symptoms or anything like that. So we were able to get him, thankfully. This is one of the things we can say our government did do right?
Right.
Our guy was able to get home on a flight that a government issued flight where he didn't have to pay $1 or anything like that. It was a direct flight from his location in Europe to Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yeah, so it worked out, but it was a little scary, as you can imagine, right?
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah. For sure, man. So just, you know, as we're talking about being quarantined, man, what's kind of like a day in the life look like for you? Because, you know, we all got our own lives, and, you know, some of us got families and whatnot. Like, you know, I'm homeschooling my kids all day, and, you know, just my wife works downstairs. So it's like, what's a typical day in the life look like for you during this time?
So the good thing is I have a home office here that I work from.
Okay.
That's the good thing. So not a whole lot's changed in that regard. I guess what the day actually looks like kind of varies. For the most part, I get up every day and do the same thing. I go into the office and kind of get started on whatever I have to do for the day in terms of taking care of these guys and that kind of thing, right? On other days, you mentioned your children.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a son who's 7 years old. He doesn't live with me, but when his mom, because she's an essential worker, when she has to be at work, I go spend the day with him doing homework and, you know, just playing around. He has a hoop at his house, so we get out there on that. We play a little soccer. We get the homework done,
right,
and we have a little fun, right?
Right,
So,
there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, like I said, we appreciate you taking the time. You know, we just kind of want to get to know the person, and then we'll kind of get into your career a little bit. So,
first thing I was going to ask is, yeah, obviously during this quarantine, you've been watching the MJ documentary. I mean,
absolutely.
You know, since it's so current right now, what's your take on it? Does it change your perception of him? I mean, we've always kind of heard things like Jordan was kind of an asshole or whatever, but what have you taken away from the documentary?
No, actually,
You
what it
probably
did for
met
me,
him.
I actually haven't. I missed him. The times I was with Jamal in Chicago, I never got the chance to meet him. Most of my other friends did.
Yep.
But I will say this. What it reminded me of is we still have yet to see anybody else move like that, right? Nobody's, not Kobe, not whoever you want to discuss.
mm-hmm.
Nobody looks like that when you watch him. There's that piece, right? Then just how tough mentally he was. It's a different thing. He separated himself in so many different ways. The fact that he was coachable, right? Being so elite and still coachable, right? That separated him, in my opinion, right?
That's huge.
There's just there's so many things that I'm glad this documentary came out when it did. It came out at, I think, the perfect time when there's not a lot of quality content for us to check out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But we were able to just sit down, and it kind of forced everybody with nothing else better to do, right?
Right.
To just sit down and really take it all in. And I think that, especially for these young guys, it's really good for them to hear.
For sure.
Everything that he was about. And I think he separated himself kind of even further as the singular, like, greatest through this documentary.
Right.
Yeah, man. Yeah. He's just that dude. Do you have like a favorite part, maybe a favorite part that he had, or when he cussed one of his teammates out or something like that?
It's a lot of parts that I thought were great and made like huge, impactful moments. One of them was here. They talked about it. I heard the guy who produced the film talking about it last night at ESPN after it finished.
Mm-hmm.
He mentioned a segment of, we had seen the visual of Jordan on the ground crying, but we had never heard it.
Exactly.
Right? The depth of the pain we never got to feel.
Right. We
saw it, and we got a general feel for it, but you actually felt it when you heard him, right? That was a different, at least for me, that was a different thing. There's a ton of other moments I could point to, but that to me really stood out as like a huge, like, wow, like he really was. I can't imagine being in that kind of pain. I've never cried that hard.
Right.
Yeah.
That stuck out to me too, and that was, I mean, when he was on that floor, that was after he beat us. That was after he beat the Sonics,
right?
On Father's Day. You know?
Right.
Yeah. But okay, so yeah, we'll move over from MJ to AJ Snow. That's how I remember always hearing your name, AJ Snow, back in the day.
You know what's funny about that is only the people who know me from back then refer to me as AJ. That my mom kind of.
Okay. I didn't really know you, but that's how I knew. I was like, oh, AJ Snow. Oh, he's nice.
Yep.
He's AJ Snow and AJ Brooks. Like, okay,
yep.
Franklin. Yeah.
I used to get you guys mixed up. Who was who? Just in hearing about it, I was both you guys mixed up.
A couple times, Seattle Times put my picture in his name. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Yeah.
I believe it. So when did AJ Snow get first started into hoop? Was it young, or when did you know that you were the guy, or that you was hoop was your sport? Okay,
so I started in about third grade. I was going to Leschi, and I had a classmate. His name, I was already tall, right? I was the tallest boy in my class. Oddly enough, there was one girl who was taller than me, but there was no boys that were taller than me at the time. And I had a classmate. His name was Andy Pels. His dad at the time was a senator. His name was Dwight Pels. And the son played for his dad on a CAYA team. I had yet to play on any team, but he would see me all the time in gym class or at lunch or on recess. And I was clearly the tallest guy, and I could play a little bit, right? But I had never played on any team ever. He asked me would I come join the team, and that's kind of how my CAY run started. That's kind of how basketball altogether started for me. Fast forward, you asked another question about when I knew that this was going to be what I wanted to do. In sixth grade, my CAY team went to the AAU Nationals, right? But at that time, I loved basketball. I loved baseball, right? So I stayed home and played baseball. My team ended up finishing 14th in the country, right? Damn. Now, the following year, I'm sorry, that was fifth grade. My teammates went and did that. Sixth grade, we didn't even qualify for nationals, right? So fast forward, seventh grade, we qualified. I said, you know what? I'm not missing this again. My guys got 14th place. If I would have been there, we probably could have won. So seventh grade, I went and we got fourth in the country. At that time, it was the best any Seattle AAU team had done ever, right? So now we're fourth in the country. I realized, I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
So in that moment, 12 years old in Memphis, Tennessee, after taking fourth place, I decided basketball was gonna be what I was gonna do long term.
Yeah. You made a good choice, I'd say.
Feels like it.
You got a jersey in the Raptors.
Or two.
Who was on that team? Who was on that fifth and sixth grade team? Was Smiley on that team and stuff? Or?
Smiley was on our fifth grade team, but he was not on our seventh grade team. At that time, he switched, and that's when Rotary actually started. So he went to Rotary. He was on the first Rotary team. But I did have Curtis Allen on my team.
Oh.
I did have, I don't know if you guys will know this name, Teo Johnson.
Yep.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
He was on my.
Isn't that
Yep.
He was
Mariner.
Mariner.
Yep. And then he went on to Stanford and played both basketball and football at Stanford.
Then with Oakland in the NFL.
Yep. So then I also had, I don't know if you guys know Gary Gatewood.
I don't know that name.
Yeah, I had Rawson Preston. I had, I don't know.
RP. That's my guy, RP.
Yep.
Cleveland High School.
Yep.
Scrappy.
Yeah. So we had a really good squad, man. And we like to talk our ish about some of these guys we beat up on during that time, but I'm gonna keep it cool for now.
Yeah. You mentioned baseball. Was baseball your first love then?
It kind of was, man. I really didn't see myself as much of a basketball player at the time, and baseball was just really it was easy. Like I would hit a home run literally every game or two.
Damn.
And I had a monster arm early. So for me, it was just kind of natural. I was great in the field. So it just kind of, as time went on, it kind of got boring and basketball just took over.
Yeah.
I feel it.
Yeah.
Now, as a young Alvin Snow, kind of during that time, you talked about, fifth grade team and baseball and AAU circuit through middle school. Was there any players that you looked up to at that time? We all kind of have some guys, maybe either in the league or locally even, that we looked up to. Was there any guys that did that for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the local guys who I really grew up looking up to was went to Garfield. His name's Lavelle Brown.
Come on now.
Yeah, Lavelle was a monster in high school at Garfield. And in a weird way, I'm going to try to say this in a way where I'm not denigrating or talking down to him about anyone, because that's not what I intend. That's not my intent.
Mm-hmm.
But he, in a weird way, he is why I actually chose to go to Franklin instead of Garfield. So at that time, I thought LaVelle was better than Jason Terry.
Okay.
I thought personally that he was, right? But Jason Terry was going on to Arizona. And guys from Franklin in general were going to college. Guys at Garfield were really talented, but weren't really going on to do much.
Right.
And so I told my mom and my dad both went to Garfield. I told my mom, well, I'm going to Franklin, because at that time, going to the NBA wasn't a thing. Like, that was like some far out. That was stuff that people did that you never knew, you just read about or saw on TV. That wasn't a real thing. So the goal at that time was literally to play Division I basketball. That was it. There was nothing. That was the ultimate dream, right? And so I wanted to go to Franklin because I thought that gave me the best chance to do it. So that's how I ended up picking Franklin. And LaVelle Brown, Jason Terry, I guess, are real guys that I could say I grew up looking up to.
Was there anybody that you maybe even that time or in the league or something, did you try to like model your game? Sometimes we always try to take something from somebody else. Anybody that that you thought you wanted to model your game around?
So I have a weird, like, I guess like we talked about before we got on air, Trevor mentioned I was like the smallest center he ever played with, right? So you got to think, growing up as a youngster, I was tall. So I was a power forward as a kid, literally, until I got to high school, right? Then I became a guard. So growing up, oddly enough, I looked up to Dennis Rodman because just stylistically, he was one who I thought I could grow up and become. And then he was I just loved the way he defended. I loved the way he just showed up and did his job with a great deal of intensity, effort, energy. He was consistent. You knew what you can get from him every night, right? He was going to go guard the best player no matter what position he was. He was kind of the toughest guy out there. So that's who I wanted to be. And then obviously things changed. As I got older, I became quite a bit more skills. And I could do a lot more than just be an energy, So things changed. And at that, I could tell you then, I started to look at guys that had frames similar to mine. And it's going to be maybe funny for some of y'all. I kind of started trying to model my game after Khalid El-Amin.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
No, okay.
Yeah. As I was entering college, I said, I need to be like that, right? And so I started really changing, like trying to transform my game from being 5-4-3-2 into a 2-1, right?
Yeah.
And more of a 1. And he had all the floaters. And one guy now that I look back at that I also looked a ton at and was like, I need to do more of what he does is Mateen Cleaves.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So those are really the guys that I really said, you know what, I can do at that time, right? And again, the game kind of morphed and I became more of a shooter later. And so even that didn't, hold a ton.
So you were trying to be El-Amin. I was trying to be Jake Voskuhl. We could have been a squad.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Oh, my gosh. But yeah, no, I mean, obviously that middle school led on to Franklin, and then the high school career. I mean, all that. So how, Chuck, you want to talk about that, Franklin?
Oh, yeah. I guess first, did you make varsity as a freshman over there?
I did.
Oh, okay.
And that wasn't common for the coach, not with Coach Drayton. That was not common. But again, I came in at 6'2", and I was physically ready to do it. I can tell you I didn't get a bunch of minutes at the varsity level, but I did make the varsity roster.
Okay.
You guys had what? Jimmy? You had Poovy?
Oh, we had a squad.
Jimmy Hayward.
Listen, we had Jason Robbins. He was
Jason
the
Robbins.
guy at the time. Gabe Ladd.
Mm-hmm.
We had Anthony Lewis, Willie Hendricks, Jimmy Haywood, Sinai Aspahal. Aaron Williams. We had a squad, man. We had a squad. We had great size, great athleticism. We could do it. We pressed you like Kentucky. We thought we were Kentucky. We were pressing the crap out of you, right? We were tough, man. We had a squad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, you had a pretty good career. You got, I think your senior year, you got what, state player of the year?
I did.
Kinko MVP.
Yep.
All area team, and you guys, did you make it to state? How many did you make it to state every year? Right.
So what year was it? My freshman year? Actually, we didn't. With Jason Rock, they made us play in this like quarter-long, 10-minute play-out game or something at Cleveland. It was so bizarre. Yeah, it was like a 10-minute game, and we lost that 10 minutes or something, and that knocked us out of the playoffs. It was crazy. It made no sense.
Wild. That would have LOB going nuts these days. Like, my son ain't gonna play no 10-minute bullshit. He needs the whole game, you know.
Right. But we lost, and that was it. Every other year, though, we made it to state.
Yep. I think it was your senior year. What was your? You remember your best finish? Was that 6th place senior year?
So my senior year, we went to the semis, and it was lined up perfectly. We went all the way to the semifinals, and it was us and Garfield, right? We got all the way to the semis, and we both lost. That was when they had moved it to Tacoma, and we lost to Bethel. They lost to Foss, to Tacoma team.
Yep.
Yep.
Tacoma got a little edge. Tacoma got a little edge up on us that day.
But I do have to throw this in, just a dig, because as we're talking, B. Roy was actually texting me, telling me we need to argue a little bit more. So I'm gonna throw a dig in right now for him specifically.
Yeah.
They were my senior year. They were undefeated. I think they were 23-0, something like that. And then we popped them in the district championship.
Oh.
So I just want to throw that in. That's all. I just want to throw that in.
Do you remember that game? Did you get busy?
I do. So look, crazy story.
Talk to him.
Crazy story. I actually didn't start that game. I got in trouble for missing shoot around because it was in the paper, so I'm gonna share it. But I was actually at Rainier Beach playing Jamal one-on-one and missed shoot around.
Oh.
I'm like, I had to make a decision. I said, yo, I think this is, I'm getting more out of this than I would at shoot around. So
right.
Cool part is I won. So
you won. Oh,
I won, and then we beat Garfield that night. So
yeah, that's like your boy Dennis Rodman going to the WWF for a day during the finals. That's your guy, man.
Yeah.
Do you so yeah? When you got state 4A state player of the year, what did that feel like? Did you think you were going to get it? And when you got it, was it like was it just like, damn, I can't believe I did this? It's crazy.
Man, there were a lot of guys, man, out here that year. There was a guy named James Davis who went to Oregon. There was a guy named Brian Morrison who went to North Carolina. He went to North Carolina. There was Roy Del Smiley who went to USC. There was
Ed Roy.
There was Trey Simmons. There was Seamus Boxley.
Yeah.
There's so many guys. Right. So for me to show enough to these coaches for them to pick me felt really good, man. I'll be honest. It felt earned. I'll be honest. Like one of the things that coach, there's a coach, I didn't realize this coach who's now at Seattle Prep. He was at Redmond when I was in high school. I ran into him at a game about 3 years ago at a playoff game. And he said, "Are you Alvin Snow?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Man, I was just doing a podcast and they asked me who's the toughest out I ever faced. Like who's the toughest opponent player-wise you ever faced?" He said, "Man, I coached against everybody. And a lot of guys have gone on since high school to do some amazing things. But the toughest guy to beat was Alvin Snow." And to me, for me, that's the greatest respect or honor. And to know that he was one of the coaches who must have voted at that time because he was in our league. He voted. To me, it was about the adults in the room who can analyze things and be honest about it, right?
Yep.
I always respect that. So, what good or bad,
Man.
you know? So it
Man,
felt really
that's awesome.
good. Yeah, it felt really good for the adults in the room to say, you know what, he's the one.
Right. Well, he was tough, man.
Yeah.
You could play, you know, you was a big guard. You could play, hit the post, play a little
Yeah.
perimeter. You know, it was tough. So kind of along those lines, what was your favorite matchup? Or, you know, not necessarily who was the toughest out, but what was your favorite team matchup or individual player in that era? That was, I call that the golden era, man. That
Yeah.
97 to like 02 with the Twins in 03.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's tough to just name one. I mean, obviously Garfield Franklin, there's nothing topping that.
Yeah.
I can't say so. That's not true today, but
Yeah.
but in history, I think there's nothing in the city that tops that rivalry. So that was always a crazy game. But then also Rainier Beach was always fun to play against. Just because, again, just like Garfield, it's the guys you know, guys you grew up with. These guys know your mom, so they're calling your house all night, the night before you play them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was always those kind of rivalries that I enjoyed the most, you know. The guys that I grew up with and they knew my parents, I knew their parents. I probably stayed the night over their house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those are the ones that meant the most for me. So I would say Garfield, Rainier Beach, O'Day. Got to throw O'Day in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. So we actually, that leads me to a funny story. So I don't know if you guys remember, you talked about 97. O'Day was undefeated for like 2 years or so.
With Doug.
With
Yep.
Doug Wren and
Yep.
Rylan Brown and Kevin Burleson and Nate Burleson, all those guys, right? That's a really good team. We were my sophomore year, we went in there. They hadn't lost at home in 2 or 3 years, I'm not sure. But we went in there and beat them. It was their first loss at home in a few years.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Doug, I ran into Doug Wren the other day, and he was telling me, he was reminding me of how I blocked his shot on the glass. And, you know, Doug was a freak. So
Monster, right.
most dudes wouldn't even jump with Doug, right? But, yeah. So
I'm surprised Doug you run into Doug. I'm surprised he let you get a word in.
He didn't. He was telling me the story.
Okay, yeah. Doug always has a lot to say, man.
Yes, he does. Doug,
Uh,
man, one thing I do want to say about Doug, though, man, a lot of times when I'm hearing folks talk about the best ever, blah, 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 whoever, whatever, if you're not putting Doug Wren in that conversation, you're fooling yourself.
Exactly.
Okay? Let's be clear on that. Let's be clear on that.
Mm-hmm.
Doug was as elite as they come, and I give him a ton of credit for shining the light on Seattle basketball nationally, right?
Sure.
Absolutely. Paved the way.
No question.
Doug's probably the guy that made me fall in love with like Seattle basketball. I'd never seen nothing like it, you know. I was a freshman when Doug was a senior, and I was like, damn, I never seen nothing like this. At that point, I'd only seen like Michael Johnson from Ballard.
Right.
I was like, okay.
Right.
Mike was good, but he wasn't no Doug.
It's a little different.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that matchup, was there a certain individual player that you just knew that was your favorite player to guard because he was so tough to guard in that era? Like you hated matching up with Doug, but you also loved it, or is there a certain player that sticks out?
So back then, I was a freshman. He was a junior. I wouldn't have necessarily matched up with Doug. That was the task of Anthony Lewis, right?
Yep. That's Poobie.
Yeah, Poobie. So he was a monster defensively himself. Guys I loved matching up with were, I don't know if you guys remember from Woodinville, Sterling Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we played for UW. Walk on.
Yep. And then
kind of awkward game.
Yep, but could really shoot it. And then there was another, Brian Morrison. Roy Dale was always me and Roy Dale are kind of like arch nemesis. Like we were always at each other for years, right? He was like probably my biggest rival. So yeah, I have to be Roy Dale would be at the top of the list. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that goes. Yeah, that's that Garfield Franklin rivalry right there.
No question.
So Garfield was probably your favorite gym to go in and do work.
Oh, I love playing at Garfield. I love playing it. I got in trouble for So I was a little crazy in high school, guys. Let me just be clear. The guy you see now is a totally different guy.
I went because me and Bruce went to Hale, so we were Metro, so I could go watch Kinko games because you guys were on different days. So I remember watching you guys a lot as a young buck. Like, man.
So the things I used to do was I would have my Franklin warm-up shirt on, and then I would pull it off and have a Garfield T-shirt on, and then I would do crazy stuff like rip it off. Like, I would just do crazy stuff. You know what I mean? Like just goofy stuff. Like go to half court and kick the dog or something, just whatever.
That's awesome.
You know, so I was really into being an antagonist in terms of firing up that, that rivalry.
Right.
I really love that rivalry.
It almost sounds like you grew up watching wrestling, but that sounds like some wrestling
I
would
did.
do.
I did.
Yeah, see? That sounds like, what? Say something, like Hogan or –
Yep.
yeah.
That's what it was for me, man. So, yeah, I don't think you can find – now I would say Rainier Beach and Garfield kind of have that, or Eastside Catholic and O'Day have that, right? But that's the only thing those are the only two things I could probably compare it to, those rivalries, yeah.
Definitely. What now transitioning from Garfield to Eastern, I always wondered, did you consider I'm sure multiple schools were looking at you and you ultimately chose Eastern, but there was a coaching change during that time. So I always wondered this, like when Coach Steve Agers left Eastern to go to LMU, obviously and Ray came in. Were you locked into Eastern, or did you consider not going there? Like, I've always wanted to know this.
That's a good question. So, Coach Agers, who I initially signed to, did go to Loyola Marymount. He tried to recruit me to Loyola Marymount. Once your coach leaves, your recruiting can open. You can open your recruiting back up, blah, blah. So, at that time, I had just become State Player of the Year. Washington had really come on strong. But the person that I have always been, and I still am today, Eastern was the first school to get it. When I say get it, they saw me, understood the value of what I could bring. And because they were first for me, I valued that more than whatever else somebody could sell me, right? That meant more to me.
That's
and so
like,
I just –
yeah, it's like Bruce's story too, a little bit with Eastern.
Okay. So I didn't care that they that these other schools came on, and because a lot of other schools came on, to be honest.
Okay.
UW I really got close to taking that UW thing serious, and it just in my spirit, in my soul, it's just not who I am.
Right.
So I just couldn't do it. So I just decided to honor the commitment I had made, especially once Coach Giacoletti came into my house and the conversation he had with my mother and I, it just felt right. So I just went with it, man. I mean, most guys probably wouldn't. I got a ton of questions. Why are you doing it? Why? I didn't care. I said, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to do. And now I'm glad I did. I mean, I ended up becoming the first All-American in school history. In the Hall of Fame. First for whatever you wanted, whatever record you're going to look up, it's going to say Alvin Snow first.
Right.
And no matter what anybody ever comes and does, you can't ever take my name or disassociate what I did, right? It's forever. It was first. So I'm really proud of everything we accomplished there. And I'm glad I made the decision I did.
No, I mean, obviously great 4-year career, 3-time all-conference member, defensive player. You talked about looking up to Rodman, that defense, and million job defensive player. And it seemed like obviously I was attending Eastern in the middle of that. I was there your sophomore and junior year and got to see it firsthand. And so it seemed like you really adapted to that role. I mean, freshman year, it looked like you started half the year and then full-time starter sophomore year, and you get defensive player of the year. You get Mark Axton joins that team that year and gets freshman of the year as well. And then this is the one thing that's weird. You were player of the year your senior year, and maybe you could give me more in depth. Man, junior year, your stats were were good. I mean, who got player of the year your
here's
junior year? I'm trying to figure that out.
So here's the thing. My junior year, Weber State was ridiculous.
I remember. Yeah.
They had a guy named Jermaine Boyette who was like Roydell. He was like my biggest rival, but in college, right? Like Roydell was in high school. He was my rival in college. He was a year ahead of me. But his team went undefeated that year in league.
Okay. That's why. Okay.
We just couldn't pop them. We just could not. We played them in the conference championship at their place. Should have won. I took a charge on him, which should have sealed the game. They ended up calling it a block, changed the whole outcome. We lost a close one on ESPN. It was fun, but we just couldn't get him. So he actually earned it. I could tell you after they beat us that game, it's funny to me. We were such competitors with each other, and Jermaine Boyette and I. After the game, he came to me and grabbed me. They won. They're going to the tournament. We're not. He's hugging me real tight like we're friends or something. He says to me, I love you.
Damn.
But it was, the thing is, when you compete with somebody so hard for so long, there's nothing you could do but respect them. So I felt the same way, like respect, salute.
Definitely.
Good luck. God bless you.
Well, then after that, I mean, obviously you guys had an NIT appearance after that game, and then, going on to that a magical senior year where you're, again, on the all-conference team, conference player of the year, All-American. You guys are regular season champs, tourney champs. Coach, as you mentioned, Coach Giacoletti wins Coach of the Year for the conference that year, and then you get into the NCAA tournament against, first round against Oklahoma State. Just kind of describe that just magical year that was and how that, the impact it had on you that season.
Man, listen. So in our conference at the time, if you won the regular season outright, you got to host the conference tournament, right? And so every year we finished second place in the regular season. Every year, all through my freshman, sophomore, and junior year. And the first place team was a different team every year. Right? So to get to your senior year, like this is your last chance, come on, man, we got to get this done. Right? It felt like, I can't even describe to you what it finally felt like. And not just making the tournament. When we won, when we clinched the regular season championship, I just broke down in tears. I went to my coach and just hugged him on the bench. Like, man, we finally did. I knew once we got the chance to host the tournament, there's no way we were going to lose the tournament at home. So we were going to get into the NCAA tournament. That part I wasn't even worried about as much as I was just – it was such a relief more than anything to lose every year. Second place in the regular season and second place in the conference tournament. I played in the conference championship game all 4 years.
Damn.
Lost to 3 different teams my freshman, sophomore, junior year, and then finally won it. So it just more than anything, it was obviously a great feeling, but it was relief.
Yep.
No,
that's the journey. That's the journey, man.
Yeah.
In the recruitment process, when Coach Giacoletti got the job, he's like, "Listen, this team is right there, and he's like, there's no other way for me to put this to you, but you're the piece to take us over the top." And so my mission, because that was the mission, it was obviously my mission to make sure we got there and to get so close and fail for 3 straight years. It was like, yo, you didn't do what you set out to do, and to finally do it after all that time I can't even tell you what that felt like, Yeah.
And discuss, I mean, how you mentioned Coach Giacoletti, how is your guys' relationship? How much of an impact did he make, for you on and off the court?
I could tell you, if I'm being honest, I hated him in school. I hated him. But as a grown man, I love him and respect him and appreciate everything that he's done for me and many of us. Right? What we did together. I didn't do anything alone, nor did he. And just recently on the phone, a couple years actually ago, Let me back up. He actually offered me a job to coach with him when he left Gonzaga to go to go coach at Drake in Iowa.
Okay.
Obviously, I didn't take it, but just the fact that he saw me that way, clearly there's legitimate, like a true relationship there. And so I have a ton of respect for him, and I appreciate everything he's done. I love the guy, man.
Yep.
So, yeah.
What was, obviously I was a fan in the stands for those games at Eastern and stuff. We had a rowdy crowd. What was some of the toughest crowd that you had to, endure? And that might not even be in the Big Sky when you were in college. It might have been a non-conference opponent, but what's the toughest crowd?
Listen, I could tell you about one moment that was just ridiculous. So my freshman year, this is kind of my introduction to college basketball. My freshman year, like, I don't know if you guys know, but we always would have a top 5 non-conference schedule in the whole country. We would go play some of the best teams every year. And one of the teams we went to play was Michigan State, at Michigan State. This is the year after they won the national championship. So this is they still had Charlie Bell. They still had, I don't know if you guys remember any of these names, Andre Hudson, Marcus Taylor. They still had.
Was Zebo playing?
Yep.
Did they have was there Mo P?
And I think he was gone. I think he was gone. Charlie Bell was their kind of go-to guy at the time. They had the guy who looked like Blanca named Aloysius Anaganye. I don't know if you remember him. So anyway, we get there. Charlie Bell cooked us for like 36. But at one point, he was cooking so crazy. I can still hear it right now. They were playing this song over and over and over, and I still hear it right now in 2020. This was in 2001.
Right.
They were playing "Ring My Bell."
That's good.
And he went for 30. Yeah, and the crowd was just going crazy. This is the loudest point in the game, though, was not that. It was when Jason Richardson caught an alley-oop, right? And the crowd went crazy for like 10 minutes straight. You guys got to chill. I'm trying to hoop.
Yeah. You weren't under the hoop, though, were you, on that alley-oop?
Nah. I'm not in that picture.
Okay.
That was my matchup, though. That was my matchup.
Yeah, backdoor.
Yeah.
And then, finally, concluding, obviously, everything in Eastern kind of came to a storybook ending there in 2018. Yep. Talk about how it felt to be inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Oh man, to be honest, it's something I never can even consider. It's not something you necessarily just think about.
Right.
But it started to become important to me as I had a son. Right. Then once I had my son, I started thinking about more legacy. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't explain to you. I wish I had the words. I guess I need to do more reading or something, but I'm not the cutting linguist, man, to even begin to describe how good that felt. Just the fact that people can say, you know what, this is earned, and it can never be taken away. There's not a lot in this life that you can earn that can never be taken from you. And that's one of those things. So, in the year 40-40, I'll still be up on that wall, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
that's
it's amazing. Yeah. Can't ask for anything more than that.
Mm-hmm. No. Go ahead, Jose.
Yeah, so moving on to your pro career, man, you've actually been going, looking at it, you've played all over the world. Cyprus, Germany, Poland, the Dominican Republic, Slovenia, Turkey, Ukraine, and Kosovo. How would you describe like your career playing overseas? It's by looking at it, we're looking at the stats and we're looking at, the accolades. You said you had a really good career, but how would you describe it overall?
A bit of a mixed bag. In some spots, I feel like, I didn't win as many championships as I may have liked, but I won a fair amount. I was always in the what you'll find in my resume is that I was always in the playoffs or quarterfinals, semifinals, finals. You see a lot of that. That's something I pride myself on, is being a part of winning, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm moving around.
Oh, you're good.
My phone is, I need to put it on the charger. So, but yeah, so being a part of winning is something I always prided myself on. And just having that opportunity on an international level always is rewarding and felt good to me. I just wish I would have, you know, not been on the other side of things when it came to these finals as many times as I was.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wish I would have won them. That's all.
What was what would you consider the worst place or the worst country, if you could kind of say it? You know, I don't know how it all kind of works with, you know, being an AG now or whatnot, but if you're able to tell us what was the worst, but if not, you can just tell us what your favorite, like what your favorite country to play in was.
Favorite country to play in, I would probably say it's tough. It's probably a tie between Slovenia, Turkey, and Israel, because for different reasons though. Slovenia, I love the league. I was in what's called the Adriatic League.
Yeah.
If you look at the Adriatic League, tons of like elite European players. I probably played against, I don't know, 15 guys who went to the NBA out of that league.
Wow.
Yeah, so the young Europeans are typically come from that region. The Europeans who come over and make it to the NBA, typically they come from Serbia, Croatia, Slovenia, right? If you think about all the guys who made it over from Europe, most of them have come from there.
Right.
And that's the league I was in for 2 years. So it was really cool to play in that league because of the level of competition and style of play. It's like rugby. It's like physical as all hell, right?
Right.
Turkey is just a great country to be in because they got everything you want. TGI Fridays, they have, right? So you don't feel like you're, you know, like some of these places are actually third world countries, right? It's legit. Turkey felt I can't say like home. Israel feels almost like another state in America at times.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, you go to the club, man, they're doing all the same dances. They're listening to the same music. And what I loved about Israel, they weren't behind on the times like other places were. Right? So they're doing the same dances when we're doing them. You know what I mean?
Right.
So for that reason, Israel was really cool. It was one of the few places I felt like I didn't need to go home as soon as it was over, as soon as the season was over. So yeah, that's kind of my take.
Okay.
In terms of the best.
Did you ever play against any other Seattle Cats in any of these countries?
I did, believe it or not. When I was in Turkey, Will Conroy was in Turkey. I played against him. And Marcellus Kemp was in Turkey at the same time. We played against him.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I played against quite a few guys. I played against Micah Downs in the Adriatic League. And the funny thing is I actually represent him now.
Right.
It's kind of crazy. Yeah.
And then just kind of topping off, when you think back, when you look at your career, I know you mentioned, you know, not being able to win as many championships as you like, but what's something, if you could pick, like, what would you think is your biggest individual achievement of your career overseas?
Individual. I guess a high point I would point to is early in my career, when you mentioned me being in Cyprus. I played in Cyprus, and we played in an international competition. It's called FIBA Europe Cup.
Yep.
And we played against a team from Turkey. That team was really good. They ended up winning the championship that year in Turkey. So we weren't supposed to beat them. And the way it works is they do an aggregate score, right? So you play.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Yeah.
So you play instead of playing a series where you got to win 2 out of 3, you play a team just twice, home and home, right? And again, like I said, they do you have to win the aggregate score. So they beat us by 19 at their place. So in order for us to advance, we'd have to beat them by 20, right? So imagine you having to beat this really good team by 20 at home. Like it's next to impossible. But I like blacked out. I think I missed like one shot. I went for like 34 or something.
Oh.
And we beat them and advanced. And so we made it to the quarterfinals of FIBA Cup. And yeah, it was crazy. So they threw a parade. They bought us rings. It was a big deal. And here's why. Here's the backstory. Cyprus happens to be half Greek, half Turkish. It's an island that those two countries fought over, right?
Okay.
So for us being on the Greek side to play a Turkish team that we're not supposed to beat, let alone beat by 20 or more,
right?
To win that game, and this was just a few years after the war, mind you, right? That we beat this club. I'm getting women crying and kissing me, and like it was crazy. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it was a huge moment. It was a huge moment.
Okay.
Wow, that's heavy. We thought Garfield Franklin was intense. There you go.
No, these guys actually have real war, like bombs and guns. Yeah.
That's wild.
So after your career and stuff and post retirement, you went on, to be a CEO and an agent over at Worldwide Sports Management. I mean, what was one of the what was motivated you to get into athlete representation?
So I had a few different opportunities to get into coaching, and I always thought that that's what I would do. But my former partner was just kind of on me for the last 4 or 5 years of my career about me always having a spot here, if this is something I wanted to do. And as I got closer to the college coaching thing, again, much like the decision I made for college, me just kind of sticking to my core principles, I just realized that who I am is someone who likes to be responsible for his own successes and failures. Right. And so in the college coaching thing, a little bit, one of the things that kind of was at least a drawback for me was the fact that a head coach maybe has too much control of my success or my failure in terms of rising, right? He may make a poor decision and then we all get fired, right? Something like, no thanks, right? If I'm a fail or if I'm going to struggle or if I'm going to, whatever the case, I'd like to be responsible for that. And so for me, this just made more sense. And then I realized there's also a window to provide something different. I think you guys know, because you've seen me yourselves in the gym with my guys, and I pour into them in a different way. And certain guys that works great for, other guys it doesn't. I'm completely okay with it either way. I don't think I'm the right fit for every guy, but I know I am the right fit for certain guys, and for those are the guys that I'm after. Guys that want a long-term, authentic, genuine relationship, and somebody you can be truthful with, somebody who's going to be truthful with you and not just selling you things or whatever the case. There's a lot of that in business in general, but certainly in this business, right? So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So
and speaking about the business and, give us a little insight of that world of athlete representation. Let us know what, how the client recruitment process goes and all that entails with that.
Sure. So different guys do things differently, but I think the one thing that is true throughout the process for any agent looking to recruit talent is you have to just kind of continue to provide value, right? You have to continue to show a potential client how you can bring and add value to whatever the situation is. A lot of times that's by way of connecting them with folks who can get their story told. Sometimes it's connecting it's showing the connections you have, right? Showing the evaluations you're able to get from, if it's a guy who wants to play at the NBA level, if you're able to get quality, like true good feedback from these NBA teams and and provide that for the client, then that's usually something that bodes well for an agent in the recruiting process. So it's just really developing a relationship and rapport with a particular player, their family, and then providing value and continuing to provide value until they get to a place where they're comfortable and feel like, you know what, this is somebody I want to do business with long term.
Right. Yeah, just to piggyback off of that, I know a couple guys on your agency. We've interviewed a bunch of guys on your agency, or some of your. Let me take that back. We've interviewed a bunch of your clients. So,
Sure.
Nothing but positive feedback. They speak glowingly about you. One of my former players who played for me at Shoreline, Nishan, he was in the process. He actually asked me what I thought. And this is before I had even met you. So I told him, I said, everything I knew about you and from what I've heard, I was like, man, you should make that switch. When I think he was in the transition, changing agents. So yeah, I get that vibe. I get that kind of like the wholesome, like big brother, like I'm going to keep it real with you. I'm going to love and put my arm around you, but then I'm also going to let you know what's real.
Absolutely.
And I've seen that, I've witnessed it when I attended some of your workouts. I witnessed it firsthand. So it's just, you're just doing a great job with that. I just want to commend you for what you're doing.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
One of the things that bothers me in general, but also in this business, is a lot of times folks just say things to these guys that they think they want to hear. And I get it for a young man whose star is shining brighter than it ever has.
Right.
Sometimes you want to hear the things that make you that continue to feed your ego and but where's that get you long term?
Right.
And a lot of these guys don't necessarily, maybe they do, and it's just not something they care about, right? And that's okay too. But what I believe is long term, and I think this COVID thing really should show us all, right? There's certain things that just don't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's just certain things like they keep talking about essential, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think relationships, real, genuine, authentic relationship is something that is essential. I think COVID has shown us that, right? A lot of times, especially in business, people just want to do business and then they want it just to be transactional and it's just business, right? And that's cool. If that works for you, sweet, great. That's not the way that I conduct things. It's not the way that I've ever wanted them to be done with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to provide something that I feel like I needed.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You provide your players with pretty intense workouts then. When did you so talk about that. Talk about those workouts you put them through and how do you, when did you start doing that?
So I actually started. The first guy I ever trained, I believe was Aaron Brooks. He reached out to me and asked me, he said he wanted to make he was still in the league and he wanted to have a breakout year.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me up and he asked me would I train him. I had never formalized like my actual training methods or anything like that. I trained some of my friends, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I never tried to make it into a business, right? So as I did that, I was able to kind of build out something that made a lot of sense for guys and kind of set it up where we could chart your progress, all these different tools we use to get a guy from point A to point Z, hopefully, right? So I went through that with Aaron Brooks, and then it kind of moved on. I had, I don't know if you know Brandon Brown, one of the guys I represent.
Yep.
I had him working out with Mike James years ago. And it kind of grew from there, and it turned into me having this group of guys. And I wasn't even doing the agent thing yet. I just was training guys, just guys that had known me and respected me and wanted to be in the gym with me.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of grew into this organic thing where now guys just love to be in the gym with each other, helping each other, building each other up,
Right.
but also kicking each other's butts, right?
Oh yeah, I seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, man, and this is I know this is probably more of what you're looking for, and this is the truth. Europe is a totally different game. Okay.
Yep.
So for me, my mission is to get these guys in the gym and not just do what everybody else is doing. Everybody's working on the sauce and then get in your bag. No. No. You got time for that, dude, but do that on your own time. Like, that's not what this is for.
Right.
This is the meat and potatoes, okay? And the vegetables, right?
Oh, okay.
This is like what's going to help you be successful wherever you end up.
Right.
Knowing how to play, right? Playing on time, right? With teammates, right? Everybody goes to the gym and wants to go pound, step back three. That's cool and all
Right.
if you're James Harden.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? But how many coaches are letting you do that, man?
Exactly.
So,
Right.
yeah. And Europe is certainly not looking for a group of 12 guys who all do that. So my mission is to get these guys to a place where they know how to play with teammates at a really high level.
Right.
And
This
that's
ain't the
why we're seeing
pro-am.
these guys kind of develop and grow and build in their careers, kind of just going onward and upward, as we like to say here. We hashtag that a lot. Hashtag onward and upward. Yeah.
Yep.
Onward
Okay.
and upward.
So then that kind of ties into you have that invitational that you do every July for clients
man.
or for coaches. Yeah, that's pretty cool. What's some of the feedback you get from that, from like coaches or, you know, onlookers?
People love that event, man. To be honest, I've been blown up about it already this year. Unfortunately, we've had to cancel it due to COVID.
Right.
Yeah.
But we'll be back next year. But I can tell you, folks from all over the world come to that event annually. You can find teams from just about every country in the world in attendance, looking to sign guys. Deals get done right there on the spot. So it's a really great event. It runs right next to NBA Summer League in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
The way that the day usually goes is general managers, head coaches, assistant coaches, they all come over to our event in the morning, go off to lunch, and then go watch NBA Summer League in the afternoon. It's a great day of basketball, right? Cheap, easy, fun.
Right.
And
Yeah,
is it open to the public? Can anyone walk in and like?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely for a nominal fee.
Okay. Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, it's open to the public.
We might need that.
Usually you catch a bunch of parents. It's Vegas, so
Yeah.
you know, parents love to come down and spend that time on vacation and still getting to watch their kids. So
We need, you know how it is in the town. We need that town plug. We need that hookup.
that's easy. That's easy. I got you. All you gotta do is show up.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know ahead of time, I'll put you on a list. Show up, you're good.
All right.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
I saw Bruce at Summer League actually.
Yeah, he was with
So
us.
I know,
He was with us. Yeah, he ran up to you, and yeah, I remember he was with us.
Yeah,
I didn't see you guys. I saw him.
Yeah, we was all over because we had business cards, so we was trying to hand them out. We were walking around the concourse trying to hand them out to people. So
they were taking care of my light work. That's why you didn't see them.
All right, so just a couple of things. Once again, we appreciate you taking some time to meet with us and talk to us about your career. We're gonna do some quick hitters. First thing that comes to your head, you don't have to think about it long or anything like that. So I know obviously in the hoop culture right now, or in the basketball culture, probably ever since we were younger, we're all roughly around the same age range. Shoes has been a huge ordeal. So first thing you can think of, what's your all-time favorite hoop shoe?
So I got two. I'm sorry, this is not as quick of an answer as you like.
Good.
You're good.
Two.
You're good.
I'm I love the original Adidas Pro Model.
Yep.
Oh,
I love
okay.
that shoe. All right. And then I love the Worm. Dennis Rodman had a shoe with the backward swoosh, kind of slanted.
Yeah.
What they
You know
call
what
the
I'm talking about?
Indestruct, right?
Huh?
Was that what they're called? The Indestruct?
No, I think they're called Darwin or something.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Okay. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so those are my two favorite shoes, man.
Okay.
And there's a third. There's a third. Sorry.
No, you're
Sam
good.
Cassell had a Reebok.
Sam Cassell. Okay.
And Sam Cassell had a Reebok. They had a little drawstring in the back, tightened it up. They're really high tops.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look those up. I remember the Castells.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What's your being a Seattle guy? What's your favorite Seattle restaurant?
You guys already know what I'm gonna say here. I just did a podcast interview at the spot, Jerk Shack.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shout out
Jerk
to
Shack
Trey.
downtown.
Shout out to Trey.
Yep. Shout out to Dre. Jerk Shack.
All right. So two more. Who's your favorite current NBA player?
LeBron.
LeBron.
Bro, I'm a LeBron fan, man. I'm a LeBron fan.
Okay.
Tell him.
I get beat up for it, but I'm a LeBron fan.
Okay.
I've been there. I've been in the trenches, man, on that fight for a while, man.
Right.
And then last one. I mean, you kind of mentioned a bunch of guys. Earlier in the interview was, but who you think back to your playing career, you've grown up playing against the best in Seattle. Who's the toughest player you've ever had to guard from the Seattle, or we can just say Washington area? Who's the toughest player you ever had to guard?
Yeah, I think Jamal tops that list for anybody. I don't care where you're at. That's a tough cover, man.
Yeah. Okay.
Jamal's a tough cover. Crawford, he's a tough cover.
Yeah.
I'll say this too, though, but B-Roy in a different way is just as tough a cover.
Yeah.
It just looks different, but he's just as tough a cover. So I
Right.
would say those two.
All right. Well, man, Alvin, we appreciate the time you took to kind of talk to us about your life and your career. Man, it's just been a blessing to just kind of hear. We heard from a lot of hoopers, but the guys who are retired, we haven't heard from any agents. So it's nice to see. It's nice to hear that part of it, the business side of basketball, which guys don't really get to. We got the inside scoop, so to speak. And it's not often we meet somebody who knows Bruce on a different level and went to school with him and saw him during his wild years. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We can we'll have some discussions about that off air, but man, we like I said,
we can charge a nominal fee for that part.
Lord.
Man, but once again, man, we appreciate it. Thank you. Man, once your workouts start, we're gonna try to be there to watch and just kind of.
That's a bet.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you again. BTST. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and follow our YouTube channel. This is going on YouTube. So we appreciate you guys. Love and respect. Signing off.
No doubt. Appreciate you, man.